All right. Well, good day, folks. Today is July 25th, 2024, and we're coming to you live from Admitted, call advice on college admissions and testing. I'm Byron out of Albuquerque, New Mexico with Tutor Doctor and my associates in, New Jersey. Welcome to you, Jess.
Hi,
And
everyone.
also a welcome to Chris in San Diego, California, and Monique out in Brevard County, Florida. All right, so we're going to be talking about SAT, ACT today, and we've got a few questions lined up for us. So why don't you fire away, Monique?
Great. Thank you three for joining us today because you guys are the experts on this. Okay, so which test should students be preparing for, or should they be preparing for both tests?
Well, in answering that question, I really want to just lay out the basic premise that when we're preparing for a standardized test like the SAT or ACT, there is not a one-size-fits-all type of an answer. Okay, there just isn't. This is a very individualized journey, and when you have the opportunity to work with a tutor doctor representative, you'll find that to be very, very true because schools are different. Their standards and expectations are different. There's yourself, your own skill set, all of those things come into play. And so the very first thing that you want to do is get somebody who knows what they're talking about, who's been on this journey before and can really guide you and help you ask the right questions, and so that you come out with the right answer, so the questions not asked are often very dangerous because we don't get the answer that we want, right? Or we should have. So somebody like Tutor Doctor can certainly help you, but certainly you also want to reach out to the schools that you're interested in attending. And I would even go further and say, talk to the specific programs that you are interested in and build a relationship with them and find out, scour that website, talk to somebody, let them get to know you. This is a great, tactic, right? Let them know who you are and how motivated and interested you are. They're going to love that about you, and find out does it matter if they prefer an SAT or an ACT? And if so, what kind of a score are they looking for? And how does that impact your merit scholarships? Those are the types of things that you want to be asking. Now, having done, that type of homework for yourself, with all the schools that you're considering, then, you can come back to somebody like Tutor Doctor, who's going to ask more questions about you as a test taker, and in my particular office, I have some tools that I use that are very unique in some cases. We have a cognitive skills assessment, for example, that is going to measure not what you know, like an ACT or an SAT will measure. It will measure how you think, how you process. And because ACT and SAT are designed differently, one student is going to perform better on an ACT versus an SAT, just because of who they are and how they process information, because timing and pacing is a big factor in this, and there's many others. And so we'll be able to get not only a predictive score of what you would have scored on that particular day for ACT or SAT, but we'll have the solid data, not hunches, not gut feelings, not somebody said I should take the SAT. You'll have hard data about, hey, you actually should consider the ACT for these reasons, And so the other one strategy, of course, is take advantage of practice tests. They're out there. You can find them with Blue Book, but we have, more than enough practice tests that you would want to take. And that's part of our programming, is that you take practice tests. But let's take some of those and see what those results tell us about how you're performing. So we take all of this information, not just a little here, where we gather all this information together and help you make the decision based on what the data is telling us.
Good
That's
info.
really interesting. So I've heard about super scoring. So what does that mean? Should I be taking the test, or should my students be taking the test multiple times to get a super score?
Chris, you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, please. I'd like to
So
hear.
super scoring, what super scoring means, and it ties in with what Byron is saying, is you need to know and research your colleges, right? You need to know if the college will even super score. Some do, some don't. So that's all about researching. And when you're going on your college visits and tours, you have to ask these types of questions. So that's how we inform you of what to ask when you're out there. So super scoring is pulling different little sub scores from different tests and looking at, I guess, the composite of each score together. That's what super scoring is. So if you have one test where you have multiple, different, but on the next test they're taking, your score changes. And say your reading goes very high, but your math is a little more challenging. They'll take the highest section and look at it. Like I said, some schools do and some schools don't. So it's really, really important that you know, as a student, what are you submitting to the colleges? What are you submitting? Because you're the one who submits your test scores, nobody else. That's another thing. You have to submit the test scores that you want the colleges to see. Don't submit everything. Submit the scores that you want the colleges to see.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention here, or emphasize this fact that you're in control of this, right? Find out what's expected or required of you. Take that data and use it to your advantage, and you submit and present what it is you think will best what will put you in the best possible position as far as their decision making is concerned.
About you. It's all about what represents you as a whole student to that college.
So I heard you say that taking the test is different than submitting the score. Those are two different things. So taking the test multiple times is different than submitting those scores to your college of choice multiple times. Okay. Is there kind of a threshold or guidance that you would recommend for taking it or for submitting?
Chris, you want to take that?
Well, yeah, and I think the general answer is begin with the end in mind. What colleges are you intending to apply to? And most people, if you're going to do it yourself with college admissions, generally you want to have three different categories of colleges: your safe schools, your reach schools, and your stretch schools, or however you wish to classify them. But you do want to simply create a spreadsheet that has what we're, and you can go to each of the college's websites, or if you have access to Naviance or other big data, you can find last year's admitted freshman GPA, SAT score, ACT score, and a range of other factors. And then it's as simple as putting in what data you can find. In some cases, to fill that information out for 10 colleges might be only 30 minutes of time. It can be very rapid. And then you can just simply find the average. What is the mathematical average of my safety schools and my reach schools and so on, and see what the SAT or ACT scores are. Then, as Byron mentioned, take a practice test of each so that you'll know which one is the better fit for you, and figure out what that gap is. Maybe you've already hit it, but most students, they're 100, 200, 300 or more SAT points, or 3 to 7 ACT points away from their target. Then we start thinking, again, beginning with the end in mind. Do I need a test preparation program to have an external coach to coach me as to what it is I need to learn for really the three key concepts of subject matter, test taking skills, and the pacing and timing that I need to thrive and excel on a high stakes exam like this, which, by the way, these college admissions exams can be very similar to the rigor and timing of exams you'll find in college. So it's much more college prep than merely test prep. You also want to think about the timing. Most of the time, it's recommended industry-wide to start your test preparation program a minimum of 12 to 14 weeks before you would take your first official exam. So we like to call it test prep season. A typical season of the year is about 13 weeks, and that's about what your test prep program should be. And at the same time, you want to begin with the end in mind by when must I submit my scores? And so there's a certain deadline date, and then you work back from that. If you're going to take the test twice or 3 times, whatever, make sure you've got enough timing to do that, working around extracurricular schedules, AP exam schedules, and everything else going on, and then backtrack from that 12 to 14 weeks. So you're really looking at perhaps a 6-month period of time from the start of a test prep program until you're done with your last official exam. So factoring that in is one thing many families don't do, but that's something that your tutor doctor local office would be very happy to speak with you about to ensure that you're set up for success.
Right.
So I had one more question, but I think you answered it, Chris. When would we start the preparation process? And I heard you say at 12 to 14 weeks of intense before the actual exam, but even back it up to about 6 months before you plan to write, to start the process going and start your self-education about which schools, what they will require, and which test is better for you, and those types of things.
And if
Is there
I
anything else you
that
want
is
to add?
correct, and that is correct. And if I may, I'll modify my answer. I'd say start today. Do some research. If your student today is a junior, or certainly if a senior and you haven't started the process yet, start today. Start now. Contact tutor doctor. We'll speak with you at no cost. We want to get to know you, know what your goals are, and just give you our information, take it or leave it. But we're here to support you in that regard. If you are a sophomore or younger, then you've got some time yet. And really, you don't want to start taking practice tests of the SAT or ACT until you're nearly completed with your sophomore year, because you flat out just haven't learned all the material quite yet. So that's the general timing.
Well, excellent. Thank you both, Byron, Jessica, Chris. Feel free to contact your local tutor doctor at 1-800-488-8677. They'll direct you to your local tutor doctor if you don't know that. Or you can go to tutordoctor.com and find your local tutor doctor. And once again, like, share, and subscribe to this channel, Admitted, Advice in College Admissions Testing. Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.